In this video, I am joined by FPL expert BigManBakar to build the best wildcard team for Game Week 8. A lot of people out there are on the wildcard right now. I am. Bakar, you may be by the end of the week. We'll get to your team preview later on this week. But for now, let's go for it. Let's start off with the goalkeepers. Let's build this player by player. If you were wildcarding this week, who would be in your team?
Yeah, hi, Jack. Hello, and welcome to all the listeners and viewers. The keeper would probably be Areola. I am struggling to pick a standout goalkeeper at the minute. So with the price changes so volatile, I think it's best to spend as little as possible. Areola started all games so far, and West Ham have a good run of fixtures coming up from game week 10. But I think we're fine to go with Areola as the standalone keeper from now on in.
And then backup, would there be rotation there or no?
No rotation as such. I'm happy to play Areola in almost all the weeks. As a backup, you can go with Turner 4.0 or a 3.9 goalkeeper. I think the Brentford keeper is 3.9. The second choice goalkeeper, Stratochka. Yeah. And I do expect Turner to lose his place soon. He should have given away a penalty at the weekend on for the foul on Wissa. He hasn't really been performing that well. I do think he will lose his place sooner rather than later, but I mean, he's fine to pair with Turner, with Areola for the time being.
I completely agree. I feel like if you need that 0.1, losing Turner is potentially the spot you can go for, something that I'm looking at myself. Just
exactly.
Because, yeah, he may well lose his place. He might not, but if you look at Areola's fixtures, I mean, he plays for a better team, better defense, and
yeah,
really,
Flecken hasn't been great either.
Yeah, exactly.
Flecken hasn't been great either, so there's every chance the Brentford second choice keeper could get around in.
Okay, then let's move on to defense.
Defense is tricky to pick because I don't think there are too many standout defenders to pick on the wild card. I have selected Porro as the first one, simply because of the run of fixtures that Spurs have coming up. If you want to go with the doggy for, let's say, the extra saving, I don't mind because there's not too much between them stat-wise. I don't think any of them is significantly better than the other. I've just selected Porro because he has the slightly greater goal threat since he started playing in game week 2. He's had 9 shots, just more than twice of Udogie. So that's something I like. But in some games, Udogie's created some big chances as well. So he's fine if you want to use him in this slot as well. The next one is Matty Cash. Again, Willa's upcoming fixtures and the fact that he has been playing in a bit of a more attacking role on the right-hand side. I don't think he will be as attacking as he has been, as he was, let's say, in game week 3 or 4 when he was playing as a right mid, because Will have signed a few players, and I do think that Cash will play right back primarily rather than the right wing back. But even as a right back, he's fine because there are times when Kamara sort of drops back and he makes some runs going forward. So even though the next 2 fixtures aren't really good, but I would have him just for that run of fixtures that Aston Villa have from game week 9. That run reads Luton, Forest, Fulham, and Bournemouth in 4 of the next 5 from game week 10 onwards. So again, Cash I think is a good long-term option to have.
I agree. And when people are comparing perhaps whether to wildcard now or in game week 10, one thing that is for sure is that you're going to want some Villa coverage. Well, I mean, unless something crazy happens, you're going to want Villa coverage anyway. And yeah, from game week 10, Villa's fixtures do look amazing. And as you can see here, 17 predicted points over the next 4 for Cash. Very, very high among all defenders, despite the fact that he is coming in at a pretty low price. Okay, who's next?
The next 3 defenders aren't exactly straightforward. There's plenty of variety in the Game Week 8 wildcard template when you look at the 3rd, 4th, 5th defenders. The 3rd defender I've picked is Dan Burn, simply because at 4.6, I still think he will represent good value in the Newcastle defense. He could be at risk of rotation during the Champions League, especially during the short turnaround games. But I mean, at 4.6, there's not much you can ask for. If you want to go differently, then I don't mind going with someone like a Palace defender. Any of the Palace defenders is fine, actually, because Palace are actually ranked 5th for non-pen XG this season. Their underlying data has been very, very impressive. So if you don't want to take that slight rotation risk with Burn, then I really like the look of a Palace defender as well. My 4th defender would definitely be Gabriel. I'm very certain that I would have at least some Arsenal coverage in my backline because Arsenal are only second to Man City this season for XGC, and big chances conceded. They just have a elite defense, and Gabriel has played himself into the first 11 now, and he's looking secure. He's playing well. So I think he's a very good pick at 4.7 million. He helps. The price drop of his helps because we're scrambling to gather funds for the likes of Salah, Son, Haaland. So that 4.7 million price tag really helps.
Yeah. Are you sure? Are you 100% sure he's back in the team now? Just looking at the predicted points, on the whole, Fantasy Football Hub, the algorithm is pretty cautious with predicted points in general. He's quite low because Partey will be back soon from injury, and we saw at the start of the season that Partey was playing right back and Gabriel wasn't in the team. Maybe that was more to do with Zinchenko, though, who is fit.
Exactly. I mean, you could pick Zinchenko if you want. That's fine as well. Zinchenko's what, 4.9? He's a good pick as well. I mean, if I was wildcarding in Game Week 10, I would potentially even double up on the defense.
Wow. So you definitely want some coverage there, is what you're saying.
Yeah, that's exactly what I'm saying. I'm confident about the Arsenal, even though the next two fixtures aren't great, Manchester City and Chelsea. But long term, you're picking a team for the next 20 weeks or so now.
Yeah.
You won't get the opportunity to change it, so it has to be a long term team.
I don't want to put any pressure on FPL managers watching this, but this right here, if you are on wildcard, is probably the most important set of decisions you're going to make this entire season, because the first wildcard, that is in pre-season. You have that team for this season, maybe 3 to 8 or 10 game weeks. This one is going to last for a long time unless you use your second wildcard early. Usually we're using that, post game week 30, right, for the doubles and the blanks or whatever. It's very, very important. No pressure, but yeah, having a player like Gabriel in who was so good last season, I really rate it. Okay, mate, round us off. I presume it's going to be a budget player. This is not an obvious one, I would say. There are some options here, but who have you gone for?
I think it's very straightforward. With this Stupinan news, I would 100% jump on Lamptey. There's no reason
really?
Not to.
Do you not think that as soon as Stupinan's back, I mean, how long is he out for? Do you have that information? Do you know?
He's out for a few weeks. That's okay. What we're hearing. But even if he's out for a few weeks, we've seen that De Zerbi does tend to rotate his defenders in the past, and there's a chance now that they're in Europe that Lamptey could get the odd game here or there. So if there's nothing to pick between the defenders, I would rather bet on the Brighton defender than, let's say, the Luton or the Burnley guy.
Fair enough. Yeah, I mean, that's a good point, because even if you get someone like a Taylor, who I think was in a lot of teams before this injury news, you'd never want him to come into your team, really. I mean, how many clean sheets are Burnley going to get? You might as well risk it a little bit with Lamptey, even if Estupiñán
It could be
back.
anyone. I mean, I don't think this spot is going to be that important. It could be anyone. It could be anyone. Just makes sense with saving as much cash as
for this right now. This is why you need the cash. Here we go. Midfield. I want to see how stacked this is going to be.
Yeah, Mo Salah, I think he picks himself, given his form. This was his first blank, in fact, this season, and the game against Spurs.
And it shouldn't have been, Bakar. It shouldn't have been.
It shouldn't have been, exactly, had it not been for that disallowed goal. But again, I think Salah, with his fixtures, he's a bit of an automatic selection. I don't think I need to justify his case on the video. Just have a look at Liverpool's fixture schedule, and you'll know why I'm saying this. Even this week, I mean, away to Brighton, it's an all right fixture. Brighton have been leaky this season. There's every chance that he comes up with a return.
All I could maybe posit is that, that age-old question of, if you're not going to captain someone that's worth this much money, is it worth it? But then, I mean, you could probably say that he is a captain option in a lot of weeks going forward anyway.
Yes, I think in Game Week 10, when Liverpool are playing Forest at home, I think that's a good fixture. In Game Week 12, he's a captaincy option. I mean, you could even go there in Game Week 9. I personally won't, because I do think Haaland is captainable in Game Week 9 and 11. But I mean, I could see myself captaining Salah in at least some of the weeks which are coming up.
Fair enough. Okay, who's next?
Son Heung-min. He's going to be the template captain this week. He's scored 6 goals in 4 games since he started playing striker.
Yeah,
he's getting into very good goal scoring positions. He's likely going to be on penalties, and I just think with the fixtures that Spurs have, he's a very easy selection.
Okay, yeah, no deliberations from that. And one of the reasons why I felt like I had to wildcard was to get Son in, as well as other things, of course. But he just looks like a great captain option and asset moving forward. Who is going to be with him? Are there any other Tottenham midfielders?
There's Maddison. I mean, you could choose to go different, and you could probably go Dogi or Cash and get the Son as the only midfielder. I kind of like this variation slightly more but even that is fine. I mean, Madison, simply because I think if you're wildcarding this week, you want a piece of Luton, you want a piece of Fulham at home in game week 9 from Spurs,
Yeah.
and that's one of the big carrots behind a lot of the managers who are wildcarding this week.
Sure thing. Madison, I mean, question marks over him recently, only in the against, you know, when he got those 2 assists for Son, they were kind of one-off chances, really low XG chances. Obviously, Son is an elite finisher. He does seem to be dropping quite deep. He's very important just in the build-up for Spurs as well, which sometimes means that he's not present when they get to the final third. Anything in that he's so good as an actual footballer that he might not be the best fantasy asset?
I mean, his numbers are still okay. He's creating chances, and just the fact that because he does create those chances, he does well for bonus accumulation. So 1 assist could get him up to, you know, a good chunk of the bonus. So I think he's a good pick for the next few. He will keep ticking along. He'll be a consistent point scorer.
Yeah,
even if not the most
agree.
explosive. I think Son is in a different bracket, but I still think that Madison is a good pick.
Sure thing. Maybe less goal threat, but yeah, he's so instrumental to that team. I'm playing devil's advocate. He's nailed in my wildcard draft for sure. Okay, 4th midfielder. Who have you got?
Yeah, the 4th midfielder I have at the minute is Jared Bowen.
Nice, good pick.
He's I would say his selection is slightly a bit premature given the fact that West Ham's fixtures in the next 2 aren't exactly great. They're playing Newcastle this week and then Villa away in game week 9. The fixtures aren't great, but I just think that a lot of managers who will be wildcarding in game week 10 will definitely go with Bowen. When you look at the non-pen XG stats among midfielders, Bowen is first this season. He's also likely to be on penalties. And the fixture run from game week 10 reads Everton, Brentford, Forest, Burnley, Crystal Palace at home. So that's an elite run of fixtures that he has coming up. West Ham are a team that are doing well. I mean, they made some good signings in the window. I do trust them. So this selection of Bowen potentially saves you a transfer down the line, which is why I really like having him right now.
Sure thing. Yeah, again, like with Aston Villa players from game week 10, the West Ham United's run is so good that it has to be in there. As you said, you're not picking a team for 1 week, 2 weeks, even 6 weeks. You're picking a team for a long period of time. Yeah, Bowen, a really good pick. It's going to be interesting. We'll come to other options that you haven't chosen to select in your team after we've finished. There's going to be, I think, a notable West Ham midfielder that isn't in this team because Bowen is in it, but we'll come to him later on. Let's round off the midfield. Is it going to be a midfield 5 or 4? It
is a midfield 5, but I've selected Diaby, and we've just had news that he hasn't been training yet, and he's not available for Aston Villa's European fixture. Now, that could put him in jeopardy in the wildcard draft because I do think he was the best sort of budget midfielder to pick. I think the alternative to him is Eze, and even Eze is injured. So now this is what sort of puts the... Exactly. So this puts this draft into slight jeopardy. But, I mean, you could go with Mitoma because, I mean, Brighton can score against anyone. And even though they have Liverpool and City in the next 2, a lot of wildcarders will have Mitoma. If you want to choose to change formation, you can even pick someone like a Dominic Solanke and go 3-4-3. I mean, I'm not totally averse to that either, because I mean he's on penalties, and Bournemouth do have a good run of fixtures in the next 4. I mean, their run reads Everton, Wolves, Burnley in their next 3. So that's pretty good. So I don't mind going with someone like a Solanke either, simply given the lack of alternatives available.
Yeah, it's one of those that Diaby was and before this injury news was nailed in pretty much every wildcarders team.
Exactly.
And now, I mean, there have been so many injuries this week. I can't quite remember a period of footballing, injuries like this the last couple of weeks. Our whole team's almost been decimated, right?
Exactly. The people are dropping like flies. I mean, I myself might choose to wildcard simply because I might not be in a position to field a playing 11.
I mean, I would not have been in a position. I was having to play a Stupinian anyway at home to Liverpool, not ideal. Now
and he's injured.
Now he's injured. So what am I going to do? Play with 9? Play with 10? It's crazy. Okay, so that is the midfield. It looks super strong. Now Diaby, we're obviously not going to know about, but by the time we get to the deadline, we should know if he's in line to play. We'll have comments from from Emery in his press conference.
I mean, if you want to
Friday.
go with a different midfielder, I've spoken about Matoma. You can go with Neto. I mean, Wolves' fixtures are decent as well. Neto's been playing well. He's had, 5 attacking returns already this season. Fixtures read Villa, Bournemouth, Newcastle is tough. But then after that, Sheffield United, Fulham. So Wolves, if you want to go there, he could be one that might be worth investing in as well.
18 chances created as well. I mean, some of the highest numbers in the league. Okay, let's move on to the forwards. Obviously, Haaland's. Well, I mean, let's talk a little bit about Haaland. He's going to be in this team, but any sort of kind of temptation on your behalf to say, you know what, let's spread the cash. The fixtures are tough. He's not been in amazing form last couple of weeks. What do you think?
It looks good in theory.
This is the problem.
What I'm going to say.
This is the problem.
Exactly. I mean, but the thing is, the fixtures aren't good. But when you look at his record against the big six last season, he's had 9 attacking returns in 8 starts. That's perfectly fine. Even if he takes along with 1 goal per game, he's fine. And as I've alluded to in the video earlier, I think he'll be my captain in game week 9 and 11 when he's playing Brighton at home.
No doubt about it.
I don't think Brighton are really, really poor, especially away from home. Defensively, they're very leaky. And same goes for Bournemouth in game week 11. I mean, I'm not captaining anyone else in those fixtures. So I think just for that thing alone, I would have Haaland. The counter argument is that if you have Salah, you have equally good fixtures, but I'm not going to go against Haaland regardless.
Yeah, completely fair. Now we get to the fun pick, I guess, or the one that I've been deliberating quite a lot in a 3-5-2. It's who is the second striker?
Given his hat-trick, I would ideally want this to be Watkins, but I'm short of funds.
Yeah.
And because of that, I've just gone with the boring Alvarez pick because I think he will keep sticking along with points. In that City attack, he's nailed. I mean, it's hard to see him blanking most games when he's playing with an elite finisher like Haaland. He'll just stick along with the points. Won't be an explosive pick, but will do well in most weeks.
Yeah, fair enough. And then finally, to round things off, who's your benching forward?
I mean, you could go with Archer. I've given a few different versions of this team where you can sort of go 3-4-3 with Solanke. So, I mean, that's fine as well. But if you're sticking with the 3-5-2, then obviously Archer is the 4.5 million forward to get. He's likely to get the highest number of minutes among all 4.5 million players. And Sheffield United, their fixtures coming up aren't the worst, especially in game week 10. So he could be played in some of those fixtures.
Okay, then. So there we go. That is the team. Now, obviously, in the bank here, it says we have minus 0.5 million. This team is a budget of 100.5 million. The way to work out kind of what you can afford, unless you are building your own wildcard, is just sell all your players and see what you have in the bank. That's your real team value because that's what you can actually achieve with the money that you actually have. 100.5, I think, is a pretty reasonable amount for people to have at the moment. I think I might be a little bit under that. I'll ask you a question now. If you had to cheap out a little bit or try and get to 100 million total team value or selling value, do you have a move or a selection of moves in mind that you could go down? I mean, you've already spoken, to be fair. Porro could become Udogi. That's 0.2.
Yeah, I mean, Porro to Udogi. Similarly, you could move around that Diaby position to Solanke in a 3-4-3. That's fine. If you're really, really poor, then you could go Neto. That's fine as well. He's under 6 million. So I mean, there should be enough, I think.
Okay. Now, a man that I kind of mentioned a little bit earlier when we talked about Bowen is Ward-Prowse. I've seen him in quite a lot of drafts, but you've not even mentioned him in this video. Is there a reason for that?
I would just rather go with the goal scorer. I think he's too boring. I won't recommend him personally. I mean, he's all right if you want to bank on set pieces. West Ham, to be fair, to have that kind of personnel where he can hit those corners to the big guys like Zuma and Souček, and they might end up getting goals. But I would just rather have the main goal scorer, and the main goal scorer is likely to be Bowen. He's also likely to be on penalties, so I do think he's worth that extra 1 million.
Okay then, mate. That is the team, and it's looking really strong. A team rating of 98%. That would actually improve if I go through each individual week and put the best captain on each week. Thoughts?
My question
98%?
to you is
go on. What you got?
Yeah, 98% is great, but I actually want to get it rated by you. So I'm going to ask that how different is your team to this?
Yeah, well, I mean, I do really like this team. It's very similar. I can't afford this team. I'm a little bit lower than this. I haven't. haven't completely locked in my exact thoughts, but it will be probably the exact same defense. That's what I've had so far. The forwards, the deliberation that I have is Watkins or Alvarez. At 3-4-3 with Alvarez and Watkins isn't possible. I think for the majority of teams, to be fair, unless you really skimp out in defense. So it's kind of Alvarez and Ward-Prowse for me, or another midfielder that's cheaper. I mean, I've even looked at Gordon, to be fair, benching Gordon for 1 week and playing Archer, for example.
Yes,
I don't love it.
The problem there is that after the Champions League, he could easily start playing Wilson left wing.
Yeah.
Because he has
He's
to
like
look for
left wing,
solutions
yeah,
as well.
yeah.
He can't really run Gordon into the ground with Barnes's injury.
No,
right?
it's true.
So there's
it's true.
that as well. So again, that's an issue. And yes, that's a very good point. I'm actually very happy to hear that you're not underspending on the defense, because a lot of teams I've seen are just buying. A lot of teams that I've seen are just buying 2-4 million defenders, and they're compromising on the defense, and all their money is spent in midfield and attack. And I don't think that's the right way to go, because this team is made for 10, 15, 20 weeks. So you better make sure that the structure is right.
That was a risk at the start of the season when we had the first wildcard ready to go at any point. And yet still, the majority of people would now look back and say that was a mistake, starting with 2-4 million defenders. You need to have that coverage. It's inevitable. Look at this week. Look at the amount of injuries you've had this week. You need to have players that can come in.
The problem is, for my own team, I got Botman in as cover, and he turned out to be
exactly,
injured.
And so did I. And that is the issue. I mean, thankfully for me, you got very unlucky there. I've had him all season, but I would love to keep Botman in this team. I really would. I'd even play someone like a Gabriel, or maybe then get a Mitchell or an Anderson in and keep Botman on the bench, because I think he's a better option than Burn. I don't love the Burn pick, but yeah, it's one that I'm on at the moment. And yeah, ultimately for me, it's going to come down to Alvarez and Bowen, or Watkins and Ward-Prowse, something like that. But yeah, my team's going to be very, very similar to this. 12 or 13 players, definitely the same. It's annoying about DRB because he was just such a nailed pick. If I have to change that, it's going to be annoying. But overall, yeah, it's the exact sort of team that I would pick, no doubt about it.
Perfect. That gives me more confidence going by how your season's going so far. I mean, I would like to. I mean, I think we should swap roles. I should start getting my teams reviewed by you.
Well, I'm not sure about that, but we've both had pretty poor weeks this week. Let's be honest. I've actually elected not to even put our ranks on the screen for this one because it's a wildcard draft, so it's not that important. But for tomorrow's video, where we're reviewing your team and looking forward to the next game week and seeing whether you're going to be on wildcard, the ranks will be on screen. Don't you worry about that, and we can all have a think about that. But for now, mate, yeah, looks really good. I like the team a lot. As I said, 98% team rating. Can't really go too wrong with that. Guys, those of you watching, if you want to get your own wildcard draft teams rated for free, as you can see, it's been there the whole of the video at the top of the screen. Go down, click the link in the description, completely free. Get your team rated. If you then like what you see and you like all the stats and the fixtures, and you can have a look at AI transfers as well, then you can sign up. 7-day free trial, 30% off as well. Yeah, it's good stuff. For now, Bakar, thank you very much. Look forward to speaking to you tomorrow about your team. It's going to be very, very interesting. Guys, thanks for watching, and we'll see you all on the next one.